Good day, everybody. Welcome to today's video. Today's video, I got my 2014 Wrangler JKU, and in this video, I'm going to share some tips and tricks that I did to change the oil cooler housing or oil filter housing. First thing, for safety, disconnect the batteries. I got a Genesis dual battery setup, so I pull off a negative, the main one, and I put a rag underneath, and I also pull off the positive, and I put a rag underneath it, because those are the two main terminals that carry power. Secondly, if you're removing the hoses, a little hose pick like that helps out a lot to help out with those stubborn hoses. Now, for electrical connections, always spray them with WD-40. Helps loosen them up a little bit to get them off. And all the connections with the red tab, you got to pull that red tab out a bit and then push the tab in and release. And you need to pull that bracket off the intake. There's 2 bolts down below, 2 on the plastic intake. You got to remove that whole bracket in order to get the upper intake out. Just makes it simpler. You're not fighting with it. There's also 2 bolts on the opposite side. But I'm going to tackle this brake vacuum hose. Same thing. I'm going to spray it with some WD-40 because it doesn't look like it's been off in a while and it's going to be struggle. I tried to use a little pick. I found these spark plug boot pliers work really well to get that hose off. I just kind of wiggled it with the WD-40, help loosen her up a little bit, and pull the vacuum line off. Like I said before, that bracket, there's 2 upper bolts. You got to remove the nuts. And then down underneath where the inner fender well is, there's 2 more. You want to loosen that off so that bracket is loose. Now I got the upper intake off, and I also plugged all the holes with paper towel. Now as you can see, before I remove the lower intake, I'm blowing all the loose dirt and everything around. So here I am again. The electrical connections for the fuel injection clips on the passenger side are in a really tight spot. So I got like a little pick tool there, and what that is doing is pulling up the red tabs on the electrical connections, so then I can get my fingers in there and push to get it out. Now when you remove the lower intake, some people like to remove the whole fuel injection harness, not harness, but the fuel injection hoses. You can leave that all connected, so that way you're not going to be spraying fuel and risk breaking that clip that holds on the fuel injection line. Now, to save yourself a big mess, use some hose pliers and clamp the hose that goes to the oil filter cooling housing. And then you gotta need these special pliers to get the hose clamp off the back. Without those pliers, you're gonna be cursing and swearing, and it's not gonna be fun at all. And as you noticed, you need a special tool for this part. It's an inverted E-Torx in order to get the oil filter housing off. If you don't have that tool, don't even try. So once I got the oil filter housing out a little bit, I used a special pliers to get onto that clamp to squeeze it. Then once I got squeezed, I was able to pull the whole filter assembly out. Now as you can see, the whole bottom gallery's got coolant and oil in it. And I combated that issue is that I have a midi vac in my garage. So I just hooked the midi vac up, go up top, and then just turn on the vacuum and start sucking it all out. You can use rags, but rags will make a mess, and this is just a lot simpler and does a really good job of cleaning up the mess. Just stick it in all the little galleries and suck out as much as you possibly can. It really works great. Everybody should have like a midi vac in their garage. And once again, blow out your intake again before you put the lower one on. Make sure you get all the debris out. Now I like to change all the gaskets, so I got a set of blue ones here because you don't want to take the risk, even though they can be used over again. And make sure you torque everything down to the specs and in the direction that it shows. Same thing, I'm going to remove those intake gaskets and we're going to swap those out with new ones because we don't want to have a vacuum leak and go back in and do this twice. This is not a very fun job. So take your time, make sure everything is connected, torque everything down the spec, double check everything. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one.